welcome back into the podcast. So today we are talking about the market here in northern Nevada, Reno Sparks, and then we're going to also give you the top 3 strategies for sellers. So if you're in the market thinking about selling and figuring out how to get that new house, we're going to give you 3 new strategies to help you with that. So we're welcome back in with Elena Boland, Wholesale Mortgage.
Good morning.
How's it going?
Good.
Good to have you. We're outside today.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Trying a new location in the sun, enjoying getting our vitamin D. So we're first going to talk about the market as it relates to May numbers for Reno Sparks. Does not include any townhomes, condos. This is strictly single family homes. And then we're going to give you those top 3 strategies if you're a seller out there. Stay around till the end. So what's going on with mortgage rates?
They were expected to drop, and there just hasn't been a drop. So they're pretty consistent right now. High 6s, low 7s area. So definitely important to check out these strategies we're going to discuss today if you're moving on to a new home.
Yeah, because a lot of people, we just interviewed a lot of clients here. People want to move up, and they're sitting on 3% mortgages, and they're trying to figure out, all right, if I want to get rid of that mortgage or keep it, how do I get to the next place?
Yeah.
All right, so market conditions, May 2024. Let's talk about median sales price. So you think with higher rates, there would be a decrease in price, but you're wrong. So it's almost $590 for the month of May, median home price, which means half or above, half below. Up about 6% year over year, and up 4% since April.
Yeah,
so
pretty good.
The higher mortgage rates are not stopping people from buying houses at a high rate.
We're getting the typical uptick with the warm weather.
Yeah, so we're in 90-degree weather. School's out as of this week, so market's picking up as you'll see. So what about closed sales, Elena?
Closed sales, 418 for the month of May, up 11% since last month. Pretty good climb, just like I think we'd expect.
Yeah, and barely up 0.2% up from last year. So
right, pretty consistent for the month.
Pretty consistent for the, So I anticipate that number to approach 500, 600 here in the next 2 or 3 months, because we're in the hot season of selling, just because people are moving around, getting ready, looking forward towards next school year. So median days of contract, so we're seeing this a lot. So a very simple way to figure out if you have overpriced your house, if you're out there, is if your house is sitting on the market more than 2 weeks, you've overpriced it. And because the median days of contract right now is 11 days. So what that means is that you go on the market, 11 days later you're in contract. It's not to sell. So 11 days, so it's down 15% year over year, but it's up 22%. But when I'm talking about 11, it was like 10 last month, now it's up to 11.
I think a lot of people too get real panicky when they hit the 1 week mark, but give it 2 weeks and that's really going to tell you if you need to consider looking at your price.
Right. So here's a pro tip for you if you're a seller. Always list your house on a Thursday, Friday. Let it go for 2 weekends.
Yes.
So if you do a Thursday, Friday, within a week, you will know pretty much if you're not getting showings and offers, you've overpriced it or there's something wrong with it.
Excellent strategy.
Yeah. So keep that in mind. Don't list your house on a Monday, Tuesday when no one's looking.
Yeah.
Do it Thursday night into Friday.
We're busy working.
Right. List price received, we're not going to talk about that one. This is a very interesting one. This is up huge.
Yeah.
Median sold price. What is it, Elena?
$325 a square foot.
That's just wild that half the houses, or that right in the middle is, if you go around and apply $325, that's what you're going to get per square foot. Up 10% year over year, and up almost 6% month over month. So, the good old days of probably building a house for 200 to 300 square foot are out. Resales are costing $325. So that's just a quick note too. Is if you're out and about and you're in the $500,000 to $600,000 range, you're trying to figure out what the price is without your realtor, or you're just going to guesstimate. $325, $315 a square foot will give you an approximation to see where you're at.
Super helpful stat just to put some math together.
Now here's a big number that we've kind of been anticipating, but it's nice to see it. New listings, almost 565, up almost 2.5% year over year, up 15% month over month. So if you historically look at the market here locally, it's a sine wave. So it drops way down in January, and then it inches up, and then it goes way up in the summer months.
Right,
So
so-
here we are, June. It's prime time. So
Yeah. If you were looking last month and the month before, look again.
yeah.
The inventory you're looking at is just giving way more options now.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of calls from clients that are buyers saying, wow, there's a lot more inventory, and they're really looking. So,
Yeah.
A month ago, 2 months ago, we were barely getting any showings. Now on the weekends, I'm showing houses like crazy because there's a lot more out there. So don't give up. What about active inventory?
600, almost 620, right?
Yep.
Yep.
So, but the inventory's down 13%
Yes.
year over year. Why is that?
There's just, not enough homes out there right now.
People are
Not wanting to sell because they're sitting on their great interest rate.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep, and then up 10%, which makes sense since last month. So up about 60 from last month.
Yeah.
Month supply of inventory just makes, if you take your active inventory minus the solds divided by the number of people close sales,
Yeah.
you get months of inventory and 1.5. So pretty steady here. We've seen 1.5, 2% for years. A lot of people moving here, not a lot of people selling. So it's a tough market out there if you're a buyer.
Yes, definitely.
So that's the market. If you have any questions, feel free to leave us comments. We want to hear from you about the market. If you want some mortgage advice, call Elena. So we're going to scoot right into the top 3 things that sellers, if you're a seller out there, we do have people out there that want to move up. That's their goal. So we're going to give the top 3 strategies. So number 1, what is it?
I would say look at a HELOC, a home equity line of credit, to use those funds to move into a new home as your down payment funds. You can get a home equity line of credit with no prepayment penalty, use it for your down payment, get into that home and take away contingencies and other issues that might make you look like a less than valid purchaser. It really gives you access to cash because a lot of people have a ton of equity right now, and you don't necessarily have to sell yet to get your hands on that money.
Yeah, so what we're running into is the big challenge if you're a seller out there. The move up people. The move up people are kind of stuck right now, so you got to be innovative.
Yes.
So what we're looking at is a lot of people have a lot of equity. You bought in the last 5 years. And we see 5, 6. We just have a couple who $700,000 in equity, and they bought in 2016.
Yes.
So trying to figure out how to extract that out, use that to move up in a responsible manner. So what are the pitfalls of full disclosure and full?
Sure.
What are the pitfalls of a home loan equity?
A home equity line is typically in second place, right? So the interest rate is going to be higher. Anytime you have a current first mortgage, a second lien holder is always at more risk because if there's ever an event, a short sale of foreclosure, the second lien holder gets $0. So they're always going to charge a higher interest rate than a first mortgage would. And it is also typically an adjustable rate mortgage. There's a ceiling on that right now. So if you keep adjusting up, let's say the market continues to climb, the cap is 14%. However, we don't see things going that high, and it hasn't hit that high in the last 2 decades. So it's a positive.
The other negative is you have to sell your house. Once you use that money, puts you in a better position, but then ultimately you have to sell, and then it wipes it out. Correct?
Right. And
So-
even if you're not selling and you just want to get your hands on a home equity line of credit to stay
Make
in your
improvements.
current home, make improvements, maybe add in an addition, with permits, etc. You don't have to sell necessarily, but when you do sell, just remember that comes right out of the equity you would have had. So you're just applying it to the smart places. Try not to use it for,
Buying a boat.
Yes.
Or a trailer. Or
Yes.
Be smart with it.
Agreed.
Because we don't want to see our clients
Right.
like we saw in 2008.
Yeah.
All right. So anything else on home line? So a little higher interest rate. What is
Yes.
the interest rate? 9 to 11?
Yeah, 9 to 11 range, just depending on loan to value ratio and of course credit score.
How much can you pull out? I mean, obviously this is based on credit. but-
Sure. Typically up to 400,000. We do have some alternative products that can go to 600,000, but the rates on those are quite a bit higher. So it's best to try to stick to that 400K number.
Okay. So questions about that? Call Elena.
Yeah.
So that's number 1, HELOC. Number 2.
Recast, which is
Okay.
a really cool option. If you sell a property and you come up with some more money and you're already locked in and closed into your mortgage on a new home where you could have downsized or upsized, you can put a good chunk down and permanently recast your loan to reduce your mortgage. So it's not just, making additional principal payments. It's a big chunk. It's got to be a $10,000 minimum.
Okay.
And you do pay a fee for it. It's about $150.
All right, but can you do it multiple times?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so you come in, either sell your house, so you buy a house, maybe you have a $300,000, you sink into a house,
Yep.
and then you sell your house and then you have another $300,000.
Yep.
That's called recasting.
Yep.
Do you have to make sure it's in, when you get your mortgage, you have to ask your lender to make sure it's there, or is it common, or how do you make sure it's in there?
If it's a Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac backed loan, meaning a conventional loan product, you can recast it. And you just call your servicer, because remember, your servicing will get sold, and that's very common, and it's
Right.
okay. They can't change your terms. You call your servicer and tell them you'd like a recast. And remember, they're not going to be super efficient. They might take 2 months. It's not like dealing with your local lender. Dealing with your servicer is always a little slower, but very much worth the effort. They, just kind of lag through the steps a little bit, take a couple of weeks at a time to go through every step. But again, very, very smart.
$150-ish.
Yeah.
I mean, is it different?
Yeah. Yeah, I can change $25 here and there, especially because they're not staffed well enough for it right now. But around $150, and as long as you're conventional, you can do it. So if you've got a B paper, an alternative product loan, a VA loan, FHA, those are not recastable.
Okay,
it has to be conventional.
Wow, I didn't know that, so that's
Yes.
good to know. So you have to be conventional. Okay.
Yep.
Any pitfalls why you wouldn't want to do that?
No,
I guess
there's no negative.
right, especially if you're paying 7 or 8%.
Yeah.
Probably
Get that
get
thing
it out
down.
of your 5.5% mortgage and pay towards that.
Yeah.
So, but that's a good, if you're shopping around lenders, which we encourage people to do, no offense here.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we want people to shop around, ask them that question. Make sure they know what a recast is, because that's an option that a lot of our people. Lost the military jet. But that's an option that you can utilize. So keep that in mind. So we've done the first two. What's the third one? It has to do with keeping your mortgage and applying rent. How does that work? What's it called? And this is an interesting strategy, because my opinion, and I think Elena will agree with me, is if you have a 3% mortgage, you better consider that as an asset
Yes.
and try and keep it, if you can, it makes sense.
Right.
So what is the strategy with this?
So if you live in a home right now where your interest rate is 2 and 3%, and you would like to keep your hands on that, rent it out, but still move on to a new home, you can use the potential rental income to help offset that mortgage, and it won't be counted against you any longer when you're trying to apply to purchase that new home. And typically that's achievable right now, because if you got a cheaper payment and the rent is,
Cash.
$2,500, you will not just cover the payment, you'll cash flow a bit. So that helps you get approved for that next mortgage to move on into the next phase of your life and keep that house longer and just let it build more equity.
Yeah, and then you get to keep that rate.
Right.
And the biggest mistake that I'm seeing, a lot of our clients are paying down extra payments on a 3% mortgage.
Do not.
Man, I would be talking to your financial advisor about that, because if you just go get a regular money market, you can make 4 to 5%. If you're sitting on 3, please don't pay that down.
Right.
I mean, unless you don't want a mortgage, there are strategies out there. I know that there's a lot of people that like no mortgage, which, hey, if that's the way you want to roll. But financially speaking, if you're paying down 3% when you can put in 5%, that's called arbitrage. You're losing out.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. Typically when interest rates are really low on mortgages, then you're going to get low interest pay on your savings accounts. And it always swings the opposite direction. When mortgage rates are high, you're typically going to get that higher return on your savings account. You can't have both. You get one or the other.
I wish. Let's get a CD.
Yeah.
Lock it in for 5 years.
Yes.
But the one downfall of that strategy, I'm a landlord, had a lot of problems recently. You better be ready or talk to me or watch all of our videos about setting up LLCs. Make sure you know what you're doing when you're getting a renter.
Right.
Or hire a property manager. Because as Lane and I talk, the last month has been rough on our rentals. People move out, there's evictions. So just make sure you look into all the pluses and minuses about that strategy. So.
Right. One thing about that strategy, before I forget, I want to make sure I touch on this. You don't have to get a renter into your house before you're given that rental income. You just order, it's called a 1007. It's a rent schedule from an appraiser. It's about $250, and that gives you the market rents, and we apply it, and it's given to you right then. So no, you
Right.
do not have to have a
Repeat-
tenant.
What is that?
living in
What's
there.
it called? I've never heard of this.
1007 rent schedule.
So like an appraisal,
Mhm.
they'll go figure out, what do? They go look at Zillow?
Well,
Or-
they use Zillow. Any rental sites, they'll check it out in the way of comparables, just like you would for a sale. And then they give you a report that you get in your hand, and that helps you with how you want to price
That's
your
why
rental.
you watch this channel.
Yes.
You learn from Elena. So, can that be waived? Because sometimes appraisals are waived.
Yeah, it can actually, yes. The answer is yes. If you do have a tenant who already has given you a deposit and you have a rental contract, even if they haven't moved in, that's okay. If you have those two things, then you don't need your rent schedule, and you don't have to pay for that.
All right, but number one thing is make sure you're prepared to be a landlord.
Yes.
Make sure you're set up to do that because it's not for everyone. And make sure it makes financial sense.
Right.
I do not care for people who are trying to rent a property and are underwater. So if you're losing money every month, I would really think that strategy because you just don't want to be drowning in negative 300 over here or 500 and then also paying 4,000 or 5,000 because that will take you down when things come back.
Right. And we'll help you cover all of the questions and run numbers for you on that, even if it's just something you're thinking about. That's why it's a good idea to just keep our numbers at hand, shoot us a text and email. We're always happy to
Or
help.
comment below. We get a lot of comments. Our
Yes.
videos are going crazy. Love to talk to you about buying or selling or strategies.
Yeah.
We're always available for coffee. She has a great coffee machine in her office.
Yes, come on by.
So what's your number? And then-
775-825-1600 is my office line.
Okay. Elena Boland,
Yep.
Wholesale Mortgage. I'm Ken Angst, team leader of the Angst Real Estate Team. Living in South Reno is where you can find more information, and our number is 775-525-0309. Like our videos, we are going to go full bore here on videos, tips, tricks about real estate, and we're going to be visiting a lot of neighborhoods. That's our next thing we're going to do. So
It'll be fun.
until next time, like our videos, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Bye.